now historic political presidents, which you somehow cannot revisit with any for you blitz out relevant sense. You keep suggesting Geneva Conventions when who trampled upon their ordinances? Treaty immediate break-in. That's just how politics is. Of peace and rest assured, but also them coming with condolences. Decoy tactics, diversion wings, stationary.
Alright, let me paint you a picture, right? Personally, I never hid the fact that I was blood from my mom, but she never knew until she had to visit me in the hospital when I was stabbed up. But how didn't you know? I never hid from you. I never hid the colors, I never hid the beads, I never hid the bandanas, I never hid the people that came around. I mean, how did you not notice that every single teenager that was hanging out in your house was dressed head to toe in red, wearing red bandanas and red and green beads? Like, how you didn't know? Yeah. But then, still to this day, regardless of what you think about my next statement, the most fun I had when I was a teenager is when I was at my partner's house. And like I just was saying, his mother was blood. And we had freedom to do whatever we want. It was the best thing in the world to me. Not because of the violence, but because of the family. Because they paid attention to us. Yeah, they were blood. Yeah, they knew that we had guns. Yeah, they knew that we were involved in shady things. But when we were there in the house, we were loved and we were understood. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, but then when I went back to my house, which wasn't as bad as, you know, as their house, but we had no love because we had no understanding. You didn't understand your own kids. You see right through us. You know what I'm saying? And when you see right through us, what did you expect to happen? You know, like I had a conversation one time with my mom and she said, you know, well, at least you didn't sell drugs. But the reality of the fact is I sold drugs to my own uncle. But you don't know that, and it's happening right in front of your face. I never hid anything, but you didn't see it. And then when I'm dying in a hospital bed, you're like, you know, I didn't know. You didn't know, not because you didn't care, because she cared and she loved me, but because she didn't understand how to see with her mind instead of her eyes. She didn't know how to understand what was going on with us. But meanwhile, like I said, when I went to my homie's house, we had all the love in the world, but we didn't have no rules, no regulations, no structure, no anything. So which house was better? The house that, you know, lets you do what you want to do but loves you, or the house that doesn't approve of that but has no love for you? You know what I'm saying? You have to understand that. Wow. Like which one is better for us as kids that are trying to find ourselves? As far as how it affects the family structure, I gave you that little piece of story because it depends on what side of the coin you are. It affects the family structure in a negative way when your family is so far removed from it that when it hits them hard. Like if you don't see somebody throwing a punch at you, it's gonna hit you way harder than when you are in front of him and you know he's gonna throw that punch because you didn't even see it coming. So, you know, it affects different families in different ways. I mean, I could give you the generic answer like, yeah, you know, mothers are gonna be, you know, hurt and kids are gonna be in jail and that all happens. But on a deeper level, you know, it really depends on what side of the coin you're on. You understand where I'm going with it? Yes,
I think also for some families it has no effect because the child has removed themselves to such a degree that, and in reality, a lot of times before kids even join gangs, they're already in the streets already doing those things, which is why it's so easy for them to assimilate into a gang because I'm already doing that. You know what I mean? I just got more backing behind me now. So if you're already living that lifestyle, you're already never home, or you're in the street, or you're staying from house to house to house, or renting hotel rooms, whatever you're doing on a daily basis, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're so far removed from that family anyway that they don't even have any clue. You know what I mean? So it really was already messed up before it even got to that point. You know what I mean? And so I think that how you remedy that though is investing in it. You know what I mean? Like ahead of time. Like something you got. We tend to be reactive rather than preventative, and rather than in the moment being proactive.
I'm hearing some profound things though from, like, especially it means so much more. Because we can sit here with philosophy and ideology, but when you've been there, you lived it, you got it. And so I really appreciate what I'm hearing.
What we found was shocking. We talk about the whole thing of, the eroding of the family structure in the urban sector. What we found was that something that I already knew personally, but I didn't think it was that big. You have so little family organization in the home that you had youth involved in street crew organizations that was informing and advising their parents and the family on how to organize in the house. So the gang had more organization than the household.
That's correct.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes it's not all negative.
Right.
Like it may seem negative, but it's not all negative to somebody that's living it at the time, because they're actually getting what they need. We all pointing out different reasons why youth join gangs, because they need love, because they need a family structure, because they need someone to look up to. Obviously, they stay there because they found that to them at the time.
That's right.
It's not all negative. I mean, from experience, when I hit rock bottom with it and I knew I had to change, it's not always easy just to get out. And then, that is your family. You do love these brothers. They've been through hell and back with you. But you still have to grow up. There are older gang members that do teach us organization skills, that do teach us self-defense, that do teach us, history and things like that. I mean, I've had older gang members that they're gonna be in the gang because that's who they are, that's their family, that's where they're from. You know what I'm saying? Like Just was saying before, this is my family. My mother was a Crip or a Blood or whatever. And like I said, even me personally, I can't sit here and tell you that through all the hell that I've been through, I don't still love my homies, and I don't still love the what it could be or what it could have been. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's where I grew up at. I slept with them, I ate with them, I talked to them. We didn't just sit there and talk about bad things that we were gonna do. Sometimes we was like, man, how does it feel that you can't go to your home? How does it feel that, and we were our shoulder. We were our counselors. We were each other's, confidants.
That's right.
So it wasn't all negative. And like I said, the older brothers that were around long enough to see the days of the Panthers or to see the days of when we were organized as people, they did teach us organization skills because they did want to see us one day grow. They showed us, like I said, self-defense and taught us about history, and it's one thing when you're getting it from a book, and it's another thing when you're getting it from a living book. You know what I'm saying? Like a living person.
That's right.
And that's just one thing that I wanted to point out, because I heard what Cherie said about how they know how to organize. They do know how to organize. I think the problem is that once again, we don't have no follow-up. And that's the thing, because whether it be a gang member that's teaching you about organization or a youth counselor at the center that's teaching you about organization, if they don't go all the way until you've mastered what you need to master, then they didn't really do their job. Understand? One thing that my educator taught me when I was seeking knowledge of myself, when I was seeking to change, when I wanted to find out who I really was, one thing that he taught me was, you might have had a lot of people that have educated you on things, but you've never had a teacher, because a teacher is one that's there until you graduate, that's there until you finish, as long as you're willing to be there. And I think that's the main thing with all of us in general. You know, the older gang members, the youth service workers, the community activists, everything. It has to be follow-up. You know, you have to follow up with these kids because we do need you and we do want you. Even if we don't show it, we want you. But if you let us down, then you've done worse than anybody else in this planet because whether you realize it or not, you gave us the hope that we thought didn't exist. Once you take that away, we have beyond nothing. And then we're animals. You understand? And that's the main difference. The main point that I was trying to make is that if they do have organization skills, if someone who works in the public service field, in the youth division field can say that they do have organization skills, immense organization skills, then we have to groom them. You know what I'm saying? We can't just let them go.
For me, it was all about investment. You know what I'm saying? That somebody letting me know that they care and they was watching. In my hood, I make it real known to the babies around me, I'm watching you. You know what I'm saying? It's not just a matter of I see you walking by and I just say hi. Like, I'm intricately involved watching the things that you're doing and how you moving around the hood. You know what I mean? The other piece is letting them know not only that you see their potential, but helping them harness it and realizing it. And that's the piece that Sean was talking about. You gotta have that follow through. You gotta stick through with that person. And as we were having this conversation, I could pull up in my head who that one person was. You know what I'm saying? Who came in at that point in my life where it was like, yo, this is the do or die. And I kept doing dirt. You know what I mean? For quite a few years. However, because she was in my life, she constantly reminded me and constantly said, oh, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And also let me know that there's a different pathway. You know what I'm saying? And when you're ready to head down that pathway, I'll help you find the yellow brick road. You know what I mean? And so those people are so important, and it's important to, you know, as an individual, take on that role for these youth.
The question was, is it too late? Never, ever, ever. Ever should we think that. No such thing. It's never too late. But it's not easy. This is serious, hard work that we're talking about. So what we believe, some of myself, the people I work closest with in the Community Education Task Force and others, is that we must build a movement. This is not rhetoric. We're talking about substantial numbers of people working together around agreed upon, concrete, measurable goals, strategies, and tactics, and engaging in constant, consistent activity to realize the goals and so forth. Not abstraction. It has to be real work that's going on all the time. And so we have a sister who says, I run a group. We have another sister who says, I run a group. We have SLG, we have the Community Education Task Force, we have a church, we have brother teaching yoga, right? We gotta know each other, we gotta sit, we gotta talk about this. You know, I have in my mind this symbolic image of what a movement looks like. I always think about an octopus, you know, with the big, strong, thick middle thing that an octopus has, and it has many arms, but they're all connected to that middle. That's my symbolic idea of what a movement looks like. So you got a social arm, you got an emotional arm, you got a political arm, you got a cultural arm, you got every kind of arm you need. But they're all connected. And we got some agreed upon things that we believe in and that we're gonna work to realize. And you build, you know how you build movements. You start with a core group, and then you build around that, and you build around that, you know, you build circles. But they're not disconnected circles. Really a continuum. And I'm not making this stuff up. That's how people build movements. If you look at history, you see that that's how every movement has been built. It starts with a core group of people.
What is needed from the black woman in order to evade another generation of death and destruction? What do my young sisters need in order to know their worth and importance in our community and the world at large?
A lot of the things we've been talking about, subconsciously in your mind, you always think of you're thinking of male. If I talk about a young gang member, you're thinking about a young kid, a young boy. But we're not touching on the females. You know what I'm saying? The female gang members, you know, the females that's out there selling drugs, the females that's out there lost, the females that came from broken homes, just like us as young males did. You know, like I spent a lot of time. You know, some of my closest friends is females that we grew up with, and they was in the gang with me, and they came from broken homes, and they didn't have no father, and they was molested, and we were their father figure, because what they were looking for specifically was a father figure. You know what I'm saying? And they found that in their big brothers. So I've heard a lot of stories, a lot of bad stories, and because of that, I've always respected the black women, even when you know, I've done my teenage thing to where, you know, you really don't recognize a woman's worth, so you just want to be a player, you just want to do what you do. But as you get older, you know, you start sympathizing with it and then wanting to help, because, you know, they're looking for that. They're looking for a male figure, a male figure that they didn't have when they were younger. Then they grow up and they go through the same psychological things that we do. You know, they'll choose a person. They don't know how to choose a specific person because they was never taught it. Just like we don't know how to be men because we were never taught how to be men. You know, like I tell people all the time, you can't raise kids age appropriate. I don't raise my kids age appropriate. I'm not raising my 5-year-old to be a 5-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm raising him now to be a 5-year-old when he's 5, when he gets to be 13, he's never learned anything in between that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm raising him now to be a teenager. So when he's a teenager, he already knows how to be a teenager because I taught him that. So I can raise him how to be a man. I can teach him how to be a man because now he's at the stage where he needs to learn that. But if you wait, basically what you're doing is you're waiting for him to be 15 to teach him how to be 15. You understand? And it gets to a point to where he's not going to understand any of that. She's not going to understand any of it because she's already living it. She's already out there, and you know, I guess the point to what I'm trying to say is that, you know, psychologically speaking, women are looking for the same things that we're looking for. They're lacking the same things that we're lacking. And it's sad when a 30-year-old woman has never got flowers or has never been told that she's beautiful or, you know, anything of that nature. So yeah, it starts with men, but once we get to a certain point, women need to not settle. They need to not, you know, let us get away with the stuff that they let us get away with.
One of the things that I love about women and my grandmother, my mother, was the fact that, you know, regardless, they made a way. You know what I mean? They went through the necessary struggles to make sure that, you know, my brother and myself was all right.
The black woman, especially the poor black woman, historically is the most phenomenal creature on earth. Objectively so, because of what she's done historically. But it's so interesting to listen to you because she is not, in many cases, today what she was historically. Because of the breakdown that we've all been describing and so forth. So she's in trouble too. Right. Like the black man, and so we need to acknowledge that, and you just described it. You just described it. This example you just gave about your 5-year-old, I never heard that before. That was profound. But I know what he's talking about, because actually we're raising, as soon as he's born, him to be a man, is what we're really seeing, right? But just the way you described it is interesting. He's 5, but I'm ready to be 13, because when he's 13, I'm ready to be 21. That's very interesting. If we, as black men, or any men, want to know what the black woman needs, we got to ask her. She should tell us what she needs. We should not make assumptions. You need to ask her, which goes back to why we got to talk.
The actions or the manifestations that you're seeing from the youth and from, in particular, young females, they're acting those things out because they believe that it's going to get their needs met. So part of that is to kind of intervene and show them that there are other ways to get those needs met. I see a lot of examples around me as far as what it means to be a woman. that fall under a couple of categories, and in particular being the category of the hood rap, you know what I mean? Or being a sex symbol. As a hip hop artist, I often look at, you know, hip hop as a female MC and be like, there's just no opportunities for us to even really get out into the mainstream unless you fit into this particular formula, you know? And the formula just, once that formula was created, you know, in the 90s, it's just replacing one with another one. And one is only allowed at a time. But it is just replaced by the younger version of her. So part of that is becoming an example for, you know, young females to show them something different than that. Yeah, it's okay to be sexy, you know what I'm saying? However, that's not your whole worth, you know what I mean? And there's a time and a place for everything. And I think we need to teach them about time and a place. I think with the youth in general, we need to teach them how to move through different circles, you know what I mean? I have my hood side of me, but I have my side of me where I can go sit down with PhDs and have a really, really good discussion and walk away with them learning something from me and vice versa, you know what I mean? So you have to learn how to be able to move through different structures without losing who you are. But part of that comes to knowing who you are, which is something which has to be taught and explored. Another thing I thought about, you know, is how children get used as pawns in relationships. And a lot of sisters see their children as kind of these financial tickets. You know what I mean? Like, well, I'm gonna have a baby, and then I got him for life, and then I'm gonna get my child support, and, you know, we gotta break that cycle, because children are not pawns, and those children know what's going on. And those children are affected by it, you know, and that's not for me to badmouth my sisters out here. This is for me as a child looking at that happening, you know what I mean? And the violence that can come with that, you know what I mean? Because if you dealing with a violent black man or Latino man, you know, and you trying to pull some nonsense with him about his babies, he's not gonna be happy about it. So now we have a domestic violence situation going on that the baby's exposed to. You know what I mean? So it really comes down to, you know, you yourself thinking about repercussions of the choices that you make. There's options, you know, there's different bonds that are available to you, and however you need to create those things in order to have love and peace and happiness in your life, you know what I mean? That's what's important. And it starts with loving yourself, because if I didn't love myself, you know, I wouldn't be able to say these are the things that I need around me, and that includes the happiness of my children. Right. You know, so for the young females, what I try to do is show them that, you know, they can be so much more than what is presented to them by the media or what they see when they walk out their door. You know, when I see 4-year-olds popping and locking their behinds, you know, I know they didn't get that from nowhere. It didn't fall out of the sky onto them. Sure. You know, somebody is influencing them. And so I know that I need to be a different type of influence for them. But in order to be that, I have to change who I am. You know what I'm saying? And what I believe in and what I see my worth as, and only then can I begin to shine that light on others.
Part of the question that I asked was, what does a sister need to know her self-worth in our community and in the world at large? And if I can add, I think the biggest word that I think is protection. It's kind of a fusion of the two questions as far as what the woman needs to do to be, you know, avoiding the death. And this question, that protection has to come from the men. The men have to redefine the importance and the worth of women. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's their mother, their sister, just a homegirl. You know what I'm saying? We need to begin to learn how to protect the woman, and because she's like our most valuable resource. You know what I'm saying? So I think to rearrange the media enforced idea of what a woman is, the man needs to step up and protect her more from the predators that's out there.
You have women who are really out here warriors, you know what I mean? And that protection piece is like, they would jump in front of a bullet for their brother, or for their son, or for their husband. And sometimes it's not the other way around, you know what I mean? So the more that a sister feels like she's protected, or that she has the backing, the more bold she'll feel to go out into the world and try and change it. Because if I'm out there on a lonely ledge, that's a little scary, you know what I mean? So it's like we have to equally do that for one another.
That's
How the community can aid and assist in this whole thing and providing the things that the gang provides for the youth. Well, firstly, the community has to recognize, as your brother said earlier, that the gangs aren't going anywhere. They're not. Organization is organization. You can't unring the bell. You can't tell a youth that is involved and gets the positive benefit of organization and structure and love and power and economics to put all that away and go back to the lack of those things. It's over. You can't unring the bell. What we have to do as a community is do what every other community and every other nationality in America did with their gangs, and that's legitimize the gang. That's embrace the idea of organization among the youth. That, as a foregone conclusion, it's here. One, but at the same time, aggressively encourage pro-social activity. Aggressively encourage alternatives to negative and anti-social activity.
We have to be able to provide. We should be able to set up an apprenticeship program. You know what I mean, based upon our skill. You know, do it from the heart. You see what I'm saying? Because you know when the Black Panthers started their breakfast programs and different things of that nature that was stirring up movement, what Mr. Eagle was talking about. That's the same thing that we have to do right now.
It's not a cop-out, it's not because I don't have an answer. I really believe this. We must build the movement, and I do believe that the movement must include what Brother just suggested, that we do have to do, and I'm going to name, he named them earlier, so I'm just repeating what I heard him say earlier. He said the Irish did it, they legitimized their gangs. The Italians did it well, very well. So let's not be confused about his suggestion. I think he's right, that we need to do that. That needs to be a part of movement building.
Conference table of the ill thinking, of the well-spoken. Ooh, 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 ooh. And the whip is major political jargon among them. Ooh, 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 ooh. Like his pew across your back then. They spoke of crusades and of infidel. As the noose tie above the suit them. The host of heaven give to them what suit them. They may not just take let loose yen to solve a horrible human treatment embedded problem. When